Welcome to Nightfall Verse.
A story of three men and one choice. Some people are chosen for you. Some people choose you. And some people walk away, so you can finally choose yourself. Rain fell softly over Seoul as black cars lined the entrance of the Grand Hanul Hotel. Inside, the country's richest families laughed beneath crystal chandeliers while cameras flashed endlessly. And in the middle of all of it, stood Yuna. Perfect smile. Perfect dress. Perfect daughter. At least that's what everyone believed. In reality, she felt trapped inside a life designed entirely by other people. Tonight was supposed to be important. Because tonight, her father planned to announce her engagement to Kang Minho, the cold, successful heir to the JK Group empire. Minho was everything the media loved: handsome, intelligent, untouchable. The kind of man who never made mistakes. What nobody saw was the version of Minho that existed at 2 a.m. Sitting alone in his office, staring at contracts he had signed not out of ambition but out of obligation. He had never chosen this life either. He was just too proud, and too broken, to admit it. The coldness wasn't cruelty. It was armor. Built so carefully over so many years that even he had forgotten what was underneath. And Yuna hated him for it. Not because he was cruel. But because every time she looked at him, she felt absolutely nothing. While reporters crowded the ballroom upstairs, someone else was downstairs in the employee hallway arguing with security. "Please, I'm just trying to deliver the flowers." His name was Jiho. A part-time worker. 26. Drowning in debt. Unlike the wealthy guests upstairs, Jiho spent most nights working delivery jobs and sleeping 4 hours a day. Security finally let him through after checking his ID for the third time. As he rushed through the service corridor carrying flowers, he accidentally collided with someone. Coffee spilled everywhere. Jiho froze. A woman stood in front of him, her expensive white dress stained brown. For 3 seconds, nobody spoke. Then Jiho panicked. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." The woman suddenly burst into laughter. Real laughter. Not polite rich people laughter. The kind that escaped accidentally. Jiho blinked in confusion. Because the woman laughing in front of him was the same woman whose face covered magazines all across the city. Han Yuna. Instead of getting angry, Yuna looked strangely relieved. "Do you know," she said quietly, "you're the first honest thing that's happened to me all night?" Jiho had absolutely no idea what that meant. Upstairs, someone had seen everything. Kang Junho. The family disappointment. The brother nobody trusted. The brother who smiled too easily. Drank too much. And hid loneliness behind jokes. Unlike Minho, Junho noticed something immediately. Yuna looked happier talking to that delivery worker than she ever had standing beside Minho. And for some reason, that bothered him. Over the next few weeks, Yuna kept finding reasons to cross paths with Jiho. Tiny reasons. Almost childish ones. Ordering coffee personally instead of sending assistants. Stopping near his delivery routes. Asking questions nobody had ever asked him before. "What do you do when you're sad? What kind of music do you listen to while working? When's the last time you slept properly?" Jiho slowly realized something terrifying: the most famous woman in the country seemed desperately lonely. And without noticing, he began waiting for her messages too. But love stories become dangerous when powerful families are involved. Chairman Kang quickly discovered Yuna's growing closeness with Jiho. To him, Jiho wasn't a person. Just a problem. One rainy night, Jiho was cornered outside work by men sent to warn him. They beat him badly. Not enough to kill him. Just enough to remind him where he belonged. The next morning, Yuna found him sitting alone near the river. He was wearing his hoodie pulled low, hands wrapped around a paper cup that had gone cold a long time ago. She almost didn't recognize him, not because of the bruises, but because of the stillness. Jiho was never still. He always moved, always had somewhere to be, always carried that quiet urgency of someone running against time. Sitting beside Jiho in the cold morning light, she couldn't tell herself that anymore. "I ruin everything I get close to," she whispered. Jiho looked at her quietly. Then shook his head. "No," he said softly. "They ruin people trying to own you." Meanwhile, Junho watched everything from the sidelines. At first, he thought he only pitied her. Then one night he realized the truth. He had fallen in love too. Not with the perfect public version of Yuna, but with the exhausted girl who secretly sat alone on rooftops to breathe. And suddenly, the younger brother found himself standing against his own family for the first time. Now the story became impossible. Miho loved her like responsibility. Jiho loved her like freedom. Junho loved her like salvation. And Yuna no longer knew which kind of love could save her, without destroying everyone else first. Snow fell quietly over the city. Jiho stood alone at the bus stop, bag at his feet, preparing to leave Seoul forever after receiving money to disappear. She had been standing at her bedroom window when she saw the transfer confirmation on her father's desk. The number didn't matter. What mattered was the name. Kim Jiho. Payment for relocation. For the first time in her life, Yuna didn't wait for someone to decide for her. She grabbed her coat. Walked past her father without a word. Past the bodyguards. Past the front gate of the house she had lived in her entire life and never once chosen. She got into a taxi alone. And told the driver the bus terminal. But when her taxi turned the corner, she saw Junho's black car already parked at the curb. He was sitting inside, window down, watching Jiho from a distance. Their eyes met briefly. Junho looked at her for a long moment. Then a black car stopped in front of Jiho. The window lowered slowly. Junho sat inside. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Junho sighed tiredly. "If I let you leave, she'll never smile like that again." Jiho stared at him silently. Junho looked away toward the falling snow. And with quiet heartbreak in his voice, he said, "So go to her before I change my mind." Jiho turned. Yuna was already walking toward him through the snow. Not waiting to be found. Not waiting to be rescued. Just walking, finally, toward something she had chosen herself.